You have to learn how to stand up for yourself, not in an aggressive way, but in a way where you stop letting everyone else decide how you're supposed to live your life. Because think about how often someone tells you what you should be doing, and suddenly someone says, you shouldn't be doing that, or you should be doing this instead. And even if you were perfectly happy with what you were doing, you start questioning yourself. Wait, am I doing something wrong? And that's where self-doubt starts. You stop listening to your own judgment and start giving your power to someone else's opinion. You begin changing yourself based on what other people think you should be doing. But the truth is, nobody else can completely know what's right for your life. Your parents can give you advice, your friends, teachers, coworkers, and other people can give you advice. And sometimes that advice can be incredibly useful, but at the end of the day, you're the one who has to live with your decisions. I remember when my sister told me not to rush things in life and take it easy, or that I don't need to have everything under control. When she told me this, I first thought that she was right, but then I thought about how ahead in life I would be by starting things early. You don't need to take everything that someone says to you as 100% of the truth, but instead, you should take bits and pieces and apply them to your own life. You have to learn how to separate someone else's opinion from your own voice, because sometimes the loudest voice in your head isn't even yours. It's something someone told you years ago. Maybe someone told you that you weren't good enough. Maybe they told you that you should act differently, dress differently, talk differently. Maybe you were made to feel like the things you're interested in aren't important. And eventually, you start repeating those opinions to yourself. You become your own critic. That's why sometimes the best thing you can do is step away from all those outside voices for a moment. Stop comparing yourself to everyone else. Stop thinking about what society expects from you. Give yourself a little bit of silence and actually ask yourself, what do I want? Not what your friends want, your parents want, not what some random person online says you should want. What do you want? That doesn't mean you should ignore everyone around you or assume that every decision you make is automatically right. It means you should learn to think for yourself. There are going to be times when someone tells you that you shouldn't do something simply because it's unfamiliar to them. They might not understand why you want to do it. They might think there's a more normal path, but you don't have to live your life according to someone else's definition of normal. Maybe you want to spend your free time making videos instead of doing what everyone else is doing. Maybe you want to learn an instrument or start a business. Whatever it is, you don't need everyone around you to understand it before you're allowed to care about it. And this is something I think a lot of people struggle with because we're constantly being told what we're supposed to become. You're supposed to know exactly what you want to do with your life, and if you don't, you start thinking something is wrong with you. But you're allowed to not have everything figured out. You're allowed to change your mind, and you're allowed to discover that the thing you thought you wanted isn't actually what you want. You're allowed to take a different path. Your life doesn't need to make sense to everyone else before it to make sense to you. And sometimes the biggest thing standing between you and the life you actually want isn't another person. It's the stories you've started telling yourself. I can't do that. I'm not talented enough. People will laugh at me. I'm too late. Someone like me doesn't do that. Those thoughts can feel like facts when you've repeated them so many times. But they're still just thoughts. And you don't have to obey every thought that enters your head. You can question it. You can say, why do I believe this? Did I decide this for myself? Or did someone else convince me? Is this actually true, or am I just afraid? Because fear has a strange way of pretending to be logic. It tells you to stay where you are comfortably. It tells you not to try. It tells you that you'll fail. And sometimes listening to that voice feels safer. But if you always listen to fear, you can end up building a life around avoiding things instead of experiencing them. You don't have to become fearless, you just have to stop allowing fear to make every decision for you. And this doesn't mean you should ignore good advice either. If someone genuinely cares about you and points out something you're not seeing, listen. Think about it, maybe they're right. But listening doesn't mean automatically obeying. You can hear someone's opinion without making it your own. That's an important skill. Because if you let every person you meet tell you who you're supposed to be, you're eventually going to lose track of who you actually are. And I think that's something that happens to people as they grow older. When you're younger, you're naturally curious. You try things because they're interesting. You ask questions, you get excited about random hobbies. You create things without worrying whether they're good. Then somewhere along the way, you become more aware of what everyone else thinks. You start worrying about being judged. You stop trying things you're bad at. You stop talking to certain people because you're worried about what others will think. But you can get that curiosity back. You can start making decisions because you're genuinely interested in something rather than because you think it will make you look impressive. You can start asking yourself what makes you feel alive and what makes you curious. And you don't have to figure out your entire life from the answers. You can start asking yourself what makes you feel alive, what makes you curious, what makes you want to improve. Those questions can tell you a lot, and you don't have to figure out your entire life from the answers. Just start with something small. Do the thing you've been putting off. Try the hobby you've been thinking about. Talk to the person. Learn the skill. Take the first step. Because confidence doesn't usually come before action. A lot of the time, confidence comes because you acted. You prove to yourself that you can do difficult things. You prove that you're capable of making your own decisions. And slowly you begin trusting yourself. That's what I think standing up for yourself really means. Another thing is other people can guide you, support you, warn you, disagree with you, but they don't get to live your life for you. So the next time somebody tells you what you should be doing, don't immediately accept it. Pause, think, ask yourself whether their advice actually makes sense for you. And if it does, then take it. If it doesn't, you're allowed to say no. You're allowed to choose differently. You're allowed to become someone that the other people didn't expect you to become. Because there is no single version of you that you're required to turn into. You're still figuring yourself out, and that's okay. You don't need to have every answer right now. You just need to start listening to yourself a little more. Because underneath all the expectations, all the comparisons, all the fear, and all the voices telling you who you're supposed to be, there's still a part of you that knows what matters to you. Give that voice some room and don't be afraid to follow it.